company that is trying to participate. And that's a quick way of generating interest in this whole industry, making sure that the real value of the work being done in the industry is residing in Nigeria. What we've had for many years is just Nigerians who would lease equipment. There are some very good Nigerian companies that have built from the ground. They own their equipment, they train people, they stay with their staff, and they make progressive investments. They reinvest the profits they make from the industry. And these are the Nigerian companies that we must continue to model. These are the companies that the Nigerian Content Development Board and the Act must support. And these are the companies that will lead us from just being a country that wants to do importation of everything to a country that begins to deal with issues that will make it easy for us to support our operations from within the country.
Okay, we can't pretend that the multinationals are comfortable with this new law. When they don't comply, what do you do to them?
I think it goes beyond comfort. This is about national survival. It's so important that the Honorable Minister, Mrs. Izani Alison Madwake, just has taken office a few days after she took office. One of the first things she asked was, where is our Nigerian content bill? Because, as we know, it's been hanging around for over 4 years. She called for it, and she took it up immediately. And the President, His Excellency Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, also signed it off, and it became law. So it's such an important thing. Now that it's law, I can tell you the multinationals, most of them come from jurisdictions where they don't mess with the law. And all we've been doing with them is trying to work out the modalities. We've consulted the IOCs, we've consulted the multinationals, we've consulted the local service providers, just to get a better understanding of what the intendments of the law is across to them. What you will see is a realignment. This board is serious. The government means business with Nigerian content, and Nigerian content is counting and must count in every activity in the oil and gas industry. Every aspect of the Nigerian content law will count. And as we progress, we've been on board for about 2 months now. As we progress, we are seeing realignment. We are seeing the arguments that used to come up when we were operating as policy unit fizzle out, because there are clear mandates in the law. And if for any reason we see non-compliance, the board is well equipped and the board is intent to carry out those sanctions. Sanctions are very clear. Which are 5% of the contract sum is penalty and the possibility to shut down the project. It's very serious. No respecting company wants to have its project taken off. And we are operating, as you know, in a global village now. What happens in Nigeria is seen around the world. So I don't think any international operating company wants to have its name associated with breaking such a law, because we're not going to be doing it in a secret correspondence with the companies. It's going to be in the public domain. And I don't know whether any of these companies that we're talking about would really want to have its reputation marred, not to talk of the direct impact on its business, because there are so many people who want these jobs. So we are not in the business to look for people to sanction. We're in the business to really build the platform for compliance. But as you know, when we see any defaults, and we've actually shown our willingness to get into that mode of sanctions. And the board is not going to be jumping around with a cane, running all over the place. Rather, we are going out, first of all, with carrots to show people that the government wants this, we've got to do this. But if they don't comply, we have the full support of the government of Nigeria to carry out these sanctions. And we've made it very clear to the industry.
Right, let's talk about in manufacturing, say, Peugeot Automobile and a few others. We've had, in the history of the country, instances where we've set targets for achieving local content and they were never achieved. You're going to assure us now that it's not going to be the same story with the local content program for the oil and gas industry. And we're talking about the fact that there was a target. There was actually a target for 2010.
Yeah.
70%, 75%?
70%.
70% target for 2010. Obviously, it wasn't achieved. Is there a new target now?
Well, when you say there was a target, nobody can dispute that. There was a target for 2006, there's a target for 2010. Remember, these targets were predicated on the principle that there will be a law to drive this implementation. Now, NNPC, under the directions of the then President Obasanjo, set up a division in the corporation pursuant to its role as the national oil company to drive the industry. But NNPC's powers were limited for that role because NNPC itself is a national oil company. It's an operator of sorts. It is not necessarily a regulator. So NNPC had limitations under that framework. Now there is a law. The law has a schedule which has, for every specific item in the schedule, there's a target, minimum Nigerian content target. Are we able to achieve these targets immediately? The answer is no. But in recognition of the fact that there are capacity gaps, the law also makes a provision for the Honorable Minister to make regulations that will allow the importation of things that are not available in Nigeria, but for a 3-year period. So what does that tell us? It says simply that we as industry must work very hard to start putting these capacities in place between now and 2013. Because after that time, the way the law is written, you will need some multiple steps to be able to get this waiver. So what the board has done is to engage the industry at all levels and say, let's work together to identify those areas where we don't have capacity, and let's develop a framework to put that capacity in place. So as I'm speaking to you, there's a group of top-level strategy people from the IOCs, that's under the aegis of the PTS, working on these items. When they get it together, we're going to go for superior authority to get approval so that we put those facilities in place. We have a situation in Nigeria where over the years we've done how many refineries? We have about 5,000 kilometers of pipelines. We've bought vessels. We have over 300 support vessels floating around on the Nigerian waters. We have crude tankers taking our crude out. Nigeria owns LNG vessels. We're going to buy some more. But we don't have a shipyard. We don't have a dockyard where these things can be done. So it's a major problem for us. And we have identified that. For building 5,000 kilometers of pipelines across the country, we don't have a single pipe mill. We didn't have until NNPC started this program a few years ago. Now the board will inherit that drive, and now that we are further empowered with the support of the Honorable Minister and Mr. President himself, there is no way we can embark on the gas infrastructure that we're doing in the next few years without having pipe mills in Nigeria. In fact, a study carried out by international consultants has demonstrated that if you try to import pipes to do any of these big pipelines, it's going to clog up our harbors. So we don't have an option. And that's why the government is focused completely on ensuring that we have new pipe mills in the country. There is one in Abuja, the SCC pipe mill. It's done pipes for one of the companies. And you permit me to, yes, pipe mill, where they make pipes for oil and gas facilities.
One is functional in Abuja?
One is functional in Abuja. And we are insisting that before you take the order for one length of pipe out of Nigeria, that mill must be full. And that's what the law says. So as we speak, the pipes manufactured in that mill is being earmarked for an offshore project in Akwa Ibom State. So we're getting there. There are investors that have been waiting in the wings to set up these pipe mills, but they're waiting for evidence that the government will support this by insisting that their products are utilized. And that's one of the roles that we're playing. That's one of our key focus areas. Because if we have a pipe mill in Nigeria, it will not be that difficult to see the replacement of our aging pipelines. Most of the pipes we have on the ground today are 20 to 30 years old. Sooner than later, they're going to start cracking up. The industry is aware of that. So there's multiple opportunity, multiple justification for having pipe mills in Nigeria. And that's one of the things we're facing.